Well, you may think I'm crazy. I'll probably get that more times than I would like to admit, but you may be thinking I'm crazy for raising chicks and ducklings this late into the year. Some homesteaders have finished up their last batches of chickens to process, but I'm just starting some of mine. I did some earlier this year, but I'm doing some again. And the reason why is I want to increase my family's food security. Our food system is looking even more unstable. And I want to make sure I can do my part, even if it takes a little bit of extra work as things are getting colder, to make sure I provide food on the table for my family. So I'm raising a batch of Cornish crosses to be processed in about 2 months, as well as a batch of ducklings, pecans, to be processed in less than, probably about 6 weeks or so. And I am raising a batch of layers, a number of different ones, so that way we can have more eggs in the springtime. Because it usually takes about 6 months for your chicks to develop into chicks and pullets to where they're getting to the point where they're chickens and hens are laying eggs. So if you get them in the spring, usually that time 6 months later is the fall and they're really not producing many eggs. So I like to get mine in the fall and then raise them through the colder months so that way they're ready to produce in the spring. So we have them set up here in our brooder, but let me tell you, it's been quite the adventure getting them set up here. I was facing a number of problems. Problem number one is I didn't have the brooder finished. I had it mostly set up, but it needed a lid so that way they could be protected and they could stay warm inside. So before they arrived, I had to go to the hardware store to get some materials. And one of those items was plywood. And let me tell you, the price of plywood is more than double from what it was in the springtime when I first started building this brooder. So we got our plywood, and one of the mistakes that I made, I guess another one that I made, was I brought the van. It's like, oh, what was I thinking? So I had to figure out a way to get this plywood into the van. Finally, we got the plywood in. I was like, yes. And then we loaded up into the van, and Josiah got in his seat and he had the plywood hanging over his head as he's strapping in, and we ride over to the post office together with him sitting with the plywood right over top of his head. We get to the post office, and then as soon as we walk in, we could just hear the chicks just cheeping away in the background. And I'm like, I'm here to pick up the noisy things. So we got the 2 boxes of chicks that we were there to pick up. Got in the van. Josiah had one of the boxes of chicks sitting on his lap just because he wanted to do that. He loves the chicks. All the kids love the chicks. How can you not like them? And then he was sitting in there with them in his lap. And then in the front, I had the other ones, the other box in the front seat, and we're just riding home with the plywood and the chicks chipping away. And then we bring them to their new home, and Josiah helps me load them into the brooder. Look at them. See them?
Yep.
So cute. There you go. Let's start putting them in. All right, so all those look like our Cornish crosses, our broilers there. Little yellow puff balls. All right, so let's open the other box. I believe this is our layers that we got, guys. Yep. Have a number of different ones in there. So go ahead and start putting these in. And yeah. Careful, let's move a little slower. What was that?
And brown chick.
Yeah. We've got some yellow puff balls here, but there's some black ones there. And some orange colored ones there.
Watch out, guys. Watch out.
And they have some new friends.
Hold a chick.
Feels weird when you hold a chick?
Yeah. A little pet ball.
Put that one there. Alrighty. In you go with the rest of them. Is that it, guys?
Yeah.
That's it for now. One big party in there. There's a bunch of chicks in that party. You gonna go to that party? We got these birds from Murray McMurray Hatchery, and just now noticing this, but on the other side of the lid here, it actually indicates which ones are in there. We knew beforehand from the email that we received, but it just lets us know that there's some Delaware chickens in here, some black Australorps, black star, red star, and also the Cornish crosses that I just mentioned. Hop right up there. There's some water for you guys, gal. Okay, and we're just gonna put one of the beaks in, show them where the water is. There we go, there's some water. Put a couple in. So I just take a few of their beaks and put them in the water. I don't go through every single chick or duckling and make sure that all their heads get put in the water. If you just do a few, they'll get the point and they'll see, hey, what are they doing over there, sticking their head in that thing? And they'll eventually start following one another to the water, just like it would be done naturally. The mother hen doesn't take all of her chicks' beaks and forces them in the water. No, they learn from example. So, and as you can see right here, they're starting to do the same. They're just starting to put their beaks right in the water and learning from one another. See? That's the way it works. Look at them, they just start coming. I just put a few in there, and as you can see, more are starting to check it out and explore. You two enjoying the show here?
Yep. Yeah.
It's better than TV, isn't it?
Yep.
This is live action.
Hi, another one started.
So after we get done loading them into the brooders and then providing them with water and feed and just seeing them move around for a little bit, I went to work on trying to finish the lid so I could get it set up. So I was working on that, getting it done, and then you know what? As soon as I got it done, I got a call from the post office again. And they were like, not long after you left, you had another one come in. Another delivery, a box of ducklings. And I knew that they were coming too, because I ordered those weeks ago as well from Murray McMurray Hatchery. But I was expecting them the next day, not on the same day. So I was like, oh, we gotta go back to the post office and pick up the ducklings. So Selah decided to go with me this time. We loaded up into the van, went to the post office again. Yeah, I'll get the door for you. Get them. Good job, Micah. You're gonna sit in between you two guys?
Yep.
There we go. Are they protected?
Yep.
You peek in there to make sure there's ducklings in there?
They're all ducklings.
And then brought the ducklings home and put them in the brooder with the chicks. Go ahead and let them out.
Oh. Yeah.
These ducks are gonna grow fast.
He just drank.
Now I know there are some out there who have problems with chicks and ducklings being shipped in the mail. And I think for the most part these people are disconnected and uneducated about the homesteading life and uneducated about these animals. First off, they are animals. They're not humans. They're not human babies. Chicks, they don't nurse like mammals do. They don't. It just doesn't work like that. And most of these do come from, most of the birds that you're going to have shipped in the mail, they're going to come from a hatchery where they're done in an incubator. But in the natural environment where a hen would lay eggs, and first for a hen doesn't need a rooster to lay eggs. I know some people don't know that either. But those eggs are not fertilized if they don't have a rooster. For the eggs to be fertilized, you need a rooster. And you can look up on how that fertilization process happens, but a rooster fertilizes a hen's eggs, and when the hen lays those fertilized eggs and she decides that she wants those eggs to become baby chicks, she will sit on those eggs. We also call that being brooding, when she's ready to get into that mode of laying and hatching some chicks. And as she's in this phase, it's like her body goes into a semi-hibernation mode. She doesn't require food and doesn't require much water. It's as if her body is focusing all its energy on developing those eggs and providing what those eggs need to mature and eventually hatch. And after about 21 days, the chicks will hatch. For ducklings, it's about 28 days, but they all don't hatch at the same time. Just as they weren't all laid at the same time, they don't all hatch at the same time. They hatch in a 24 to 72 hour period for the most part. And the first ones to hatch, they don't need food. Actually, for the first 3 days, chicks, ducklings, they don't need food. They're designed to not need it right away, because the hen can't leave the nest and the rest of the eggs to go help these babies find food, because if she did, the rest of the clutch, the rest of those eggs would be terminated because they would get cold, and then they would not develop and hatch. So those chicks or ducklings, if it's a duck, will stay with the hen and just stay right there until the other ones are ready and they hatch. And then after then they can go out and the mom will show them how to eat and how to function as an animal does out in nature. But this time period of them not needing food and water, which is about 3 days, is what makes them able to be shipped without problems for the most part. So that's pretty amazing. It's amazing all around that these animals are equipped to do so many different things, and if we observe them, study them, and work with them, we can work together with them, and it can be a mutually complementary relationship. Because animals being shipped in the mail enables us homesteaders to be able to raise them and produce them. And that's great. We need to be able to do so. And so I'm gonna stop blabbering and get back to tending to our chicks here, hanging out with them. But make sure you stay tuned for their adventures here on the homestead and see how they become a part of what we're doing here. For some, it's gonna be providing us with the food that we need for our life to continue. For others, the layers is going to be for producing nice quality eggs for us and for some of our customers and friends. Well, that's it for now. We'll see you next time.